Call to order the September 9th meeting of the Shrewsbury Community Preservation Committee. The first order of business is to review and approve the minutes from August. Did the members have an opportunity to look at the minutes? Are there any changes, comments, clarifications? Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Move to approve.
Second. All those in favor of approving the minutes from August, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Minutes pass. Next is review and sign bills. Do we have any bills?
None this evening.
Oh, then we'll move on. So next, project eligibility requests. We have two before us, or two applicants before us today. The first is the Arrowwood Drive Playground and Basketball Court. Mr. Esposito, is there anything more that you'd like to tell us? Or Chris, do you have any additional?
Yeah, so actually, I was reminded the Arrowwood Drive Playground did receive the eligibility vote at the last meeting. So it is on the agenda as an eligibility, but there's anything else to add for next week. But.
And the same with, so that's already eligible, the same with First Congregational Church. We did approve some of them. Did we approve all of them as eligible?
I'm not a member, but I think we did.
I thought we did. Double check. So our minutes tell us exactly that. And here he comes. So you've missed nothing. We're talking about those projects that are on the agenda as eligibility, but I believe we deemed all of those eligible at our last meeting. I am going to double check. That's not it. Can you confirm that, Chris? That's what I'm finding for notes, isn't for notes.
Yeah.
Well, if I could find it on my iPad.
I don't think so.
No, this isn't gonna work. Yeah. I don't like all the details, to tell you the truth.
The eligibility for Arrowwood Drive, Mountain View Cemetery. We did not, there was no vote on, go back to the one before. Right, those were also all voted eligible, so they don't really need to be here on the agenda in this manner, so we can move straight to project funding requests. Because there are two. The Arrowwood Drive Playground and Basketball Court is first. Is there anything, Mr. Esposito, that you'd like to tell us about this project?
I mean, I don't really have anything to add. You know, I did send in the cost estimates, and I know what they look like. I still stand by those numbers. I've been, you know, researching some other town projects that have come in, and we're in the ballpark. I would hope to come in lower than what I'm asking for. But I don't think that it's unreasonable with the market the way it is. The funny thing is, nobody can really explain why there's a 4% increase every year in these types of projects. But that's what the trend has been the last few years. So, I mean, I'm open to questions.
Sorry, I have trouble opening it because for some reason I can't get on the internet, but I'll just ask that.
I had to go on the guest one.
Penny, what would you like to ask about this? We don't have $1 million to give you, period. Even if we wanted to, it just simply does not exist. And I think that in previous discussions, we were looking for something meaningful, the playground that we could invest in, that we could help get started and help move forward. But at the same time, I'm no playground expert, so I wouldn't presume to look at the budget, go, oh, I'm gonna buy that or pay for it. If you have a sense of what would be helpful or meaningful, because there's simply no way we can give you $1 million, we don't have it.
Well, I mean, at this point, I was hoping you would have a number, since, I think I backed up my numbers, but what I'm afraid of is doing a partial project. I'm afraid of running out of money, and I'm afraid of a project that we'll never revisit, because there's always, if we chunk it off, next time around, there's always gonna be another project similar that is gonna be an ask for, and maybe it's not through this committee. Maybe the town has to find another way. I think they do. I think we need to work on that. I don't have an answer. Town manager doesn't have an answer at this point. I was really hoping to get this one in as more or less a flagship to show what we can do and what the money can do. I know it's hard to sit here on paper. I'd be very worried about going under 750 or even 800,000. I think that's the limit, honestly. That's the best I can say, and I'm just going by market research and other projects that I would keep an eye on. So, are you saying that number is not good either? Because I don't know what you have. I don't know what you have for funds, to be honest with you.
Varies here. Jason, you have something to say.
Sure. So, it is repeating what was stated in the last couple of meetings, which is our annual budget is around $1.1 million. And we have to have set-asides for all the categories. So I don't think there's a surprise there in terms of that the $1 million price tag on one particular project is not feasible for this committee, in my opinion. Can it be funded? Sure. But we look at the totality of other projects that are before us, that we understand will be coming in terms of the playground manifesto, looking at here's this playground, the next playground, and all the playgrounds basically every playground other than Beale or D Park needs some work. I can't imagine that this committee would establish a baseline of saying a neighborhood park and $1 million then would be what other areas would be similar size, $1 million each. We basically would be saying, okay, for the next 13 years or so, that's all we're going to be able to do is playground projects. So, and that's the exact comment that I mentioned a couple of meetings ago. In terms of comparables, certainly, I go to the Community Preservation Coalition's website. I look at projects that are been done in and around near us, CPA communities, looking at Northborough as an example. And I know there's going to be variances based on what is the scope of that project. But when I go in there and I start seeing things like Assabet Park renovations, that was a removal of existing playground equipment and basketball courts, installation of poured rubber, accessible play surface, new accessible play equipment, shade elements, sitting area, and open free play space. This renovation will make the entire playground accessible. That came in, that was CPA funds of 452,000, and then another 100,000 from leverage sources, so all in all, $550,000. When I look at South Grafton's elementary playground accessibility, refurbishing the playground so that equipment is ADA compliant and the playground is accessible by maximizing play independence of children, the ramps and more surfacing, 135,000. Leveraging other town funds, 145, so 280 total. Gardner, I know it's in Acton, which I saw very recently. In Acton, there's a playground that very, recently done. They had it over 3 phases. One was a design phase, one was installation, and the last one was the landscaping. Totality there, 500,000. And that again was play structures, board rubber, the pathways to get there. I don't know. I'm worried that was this estimate from this company a highball? So
Well, I think you have to be somewhat high. I'm coming in $11,000 lower than the original estimate there. They priced it out at $1,011,000. And because of the comments at the last meeting about the basketball courts not being eligible, I cut a few things. It was, if it was deemed maintenance, well, then it wasn't covered. Again, my hope is that we come in lower. But the longer I wait, the prices go up, they don't come down. You don't know what the bidding atmosphere is gonna be like. At this point, I'm at the committee's mercy, honestly. I'm telling you what I know of it, and that's the best I can do. It's, what I know, and what I shared. Am I saying that everything they put in there is right on the nose? I had a question today about a tree, and it sounds like a lot of money, $2,500 to put a tree in, but when you figure the tree is at that size is probably gonna cost close to $1,000, and then you have prevailing wage for equipment to put it in, the operator, probably 2 laborers, they're getting $100 an hour, laborers are getting $60 an hour. So there's your price. Would it be $2,500? I bet it would be around $2,000 a tree. It's not out of the question, so. Yeah, I'm gonna say that some things are a little high. But I'm not in the game to price these things out exact either. So I have to go by what the experts tell me.
yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
So, I'm personally not saying that it's, I'm not questioning that this particular vendor came back with an estimate of that price, and I appreciate that you're questioning that amount that they proposed. But what I'm wondering is, maybe it needs to be a different company that's coming up with an estimate, because if I look at other communities, other CPA communities have done this in the last 3 or 4 years, and I know this markets has changed because of COVID, but it's not 4%, right? From going from 500,000 to $1 million, that's way more than 4%. So, my concern is that this committee is just 9 members, but we bring this to town meeting. If this body were to recommend it, I don't see how 240 the majority of 240 town meeting members will see this as a worth the expense, right? The best use of taxpayer dollars in a smaller playground place, a smaller community. Like if we were talking about Dean Park or making Lake Street Park a flagship park as a center of our community, I can see that town meeting would probably maybe a buy into that. But when we start coming out of the gate saying $1 million for a neighborhood park, that doesn't pass my snuff test, even as a town meeting member. I'm saying, wow, what's north of, and I'll come and say that next and saying, okay, well, I know that the Dean Park basketball courts are $350, thereabouts, right? How much was the playground renovation? That wasn't CPA money, but it was still town money.
It probably ended up being close to 400,000. And that was, we didn't replace equipment. We added, we just renovated what was there. We brought in very few new pieces that were standalone.
Okay.
Most of the stuff was there already.
Yeah. So, I mean, to that, however, is that it doesn't seem to me that, and again, I appreciate the effort to come and seek CPA funds for this project. But I personally don't see how we get this to town meeting and passing because of the sticker shock.
Yes, Ken.
Are there any parts of this that we could do? Could this be split up into different phases? And I know it's hard because you're going to take the equipment out and you don't want to leave it in an unsafe way, but could this be phased? And we do a
It could
quarter
be.
of it now and leave it so that it's still safe for the children in the neighborhood, and then a quarter of it?
It could be phased that that the playground gets done and nothing else. None of the park stuff, and I wouldn't expect it to ever get done after that.
But only
That's just
some
my,
things
that's
done.
just my opinion.
But that might be better than not being able to do anything. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, because it's either that or there's no equipment there at all,
Right.
so.
So how much would that cost, how much would that cost if we just did the playground part of it?
Well, the design company that I've been working with is different than, they have the person that does the estimate.
Mhm.
It's another company. I've been told mid 700,000 is bare boning it.
So that means the park part of it would be 300,000, right? So could we do the park rather than the playground?
No, because the playground is the worst part of it. I mean, again, if there's a number that you want to throw and make me work with that you think is going to make it through town meeting, I will try my best to work with that.
Site prep is key to beginning, right? So you have to have site prep. So that's the first thing, right?
Yeah.
And, like, the total for the site prep is like what?
I think we had
There's
6.
so many odd things in there that I don't understand. It's hard to figure out what on earth they're. Okay, site work. Oh, God, that's a huge amount. Is that covering the basketball courts or not?
No.
No? Oh, geez. It's still a very large sum. And that doesn't put anything usable on the ground.
Basically, if you look at the total, there's about $250,000 in contingency fees built into this number. And again, from a contingency standpoint, I mean, you look at other projects we have, this building, B, high school, field. Contingencies come into play when you run into things you don't expect. Now, not that I'm downplaying this, I mean, if you've been down there, it's kind of a level field, et cetera, et cetera. I guess maybe I'm being presumptuous, but I can't imagine we'd run into too many contingency issues in this particular project. I mean, you kind of have to have them in there in case something, you know, if they dig down 6 inches and it's all ledge, then maybe you gotta start blasting. But, you know, other than that, you know, the bulldozer comes through, digs down a foot or two, you backfill it with dirt, and there you are. So I mean, from a contingency standpoint, we might be able to drag a couple $100,000 out of this cost if there are no contingencies. So in a sense, already you could be down to the 800,000 number. I mean, is that a fair statement? You know, I mean, you try to anticipate the contingency costs and put them into your quote. Right? I should say you don't anticipate contingency, you anticipate issues, put them into the cost. But if you don't see anything, then you have to do a change order and estimate the cost, and that has to, in effect, get approved from a project standpoint. But again, this is just a playground, so I'm not putting structures up, we're not running into technical issues, I guess, in my opinion. So, not that when somebody puts a bid together, those numbers, those percentages are always thrown in there. But, we might be able to get away with a reduced number in the end. You wouldn't know that until the project is done.
Kathy?
And Gail was first.
No, it's okay.
Thank you. What is the exact amount of money we have available once we put everything into our 3 buckets and our administrative bucket? I have the funding report, but I can't. I don't know if that's where it would be.
Using open space and recreation. And so the actuals in the account right now for the open space and recreation is 183,251 for the open space and recreation. The general budget reserve is 1,364,682.
So the general fund has that, 1 million.
Correct. The general budget reserve.
So that's the other 65%. I'm confused. 1 million what?
1,364,000. That's a little blurry, sorry. So approximately 1.4 million between the two accounts.
And that's everything, so we couldn't fund anything else.
I just wanted to say something really quick. I just want to let you guys know that we also have an HOA that wants to contribute to this, that is on Abbey Lane and Peyton Place. They have a over 50 community that wanted to contribute to this project as well. And I have reached out to Kevin numerous times about if our community wanted to put money in, how would that be organized as well? And no one has gotten back to me on that. My family wanted to contribute money. I think there's kind of like a confusing lines of like what us as a community could contribute to. I know that it couldn't be probably much, but those are just numbers that are kind of unknown as well for us to help contribute, because we do want to contribute to this in some way, and I am also sticker shocked as well. So, so I'm also wanting to just let you guys know that too.
Chris, he's been fine.
I think that there's just 2 points, kind of just around the sticker shock that I do just want to mention. First, I think as we kind of alluded to a little bit, that this bid that's been provided is somewhat on the higher end. I just want to point out, obviously, I think a lot of the committee members know this, but for some of the public which may be watching, typically what this will do is the amount will go out to competitive bid. Typically, you'll solicit one bid to get a ballpark figure. During procurement and the actual bid process, it'll go out to competitive bid, and you may end up achieving a lower amount through that bid. This kind of becomes the price to beat, if you will. So at the end of the project, we may be able to spend less. You do have to tie up that money, but anything that's not an expense at the end of this project will be going back into these accounts. So I think that's an important piece to know, that yes, it may tie it up, but that any money that we're able to do cost savings, it will come back and free up for other projects later on down the road. I had another point, and I don't remember, but I'll come back to it.
The one problem with that is you can't tell that to the town meeting and expect them to, believe it, basically. It's very wishful, it's a hopeful number that it would be less, but we don't really know. So,
And unfortunately, those funds would be encumbered until the project's completed, which absolutely no offense to the hardworking people. And Mr. Said it moves at the speed of government. So the money would be encumbered for some time.
Sorry, and that brings me back to the other piece that I remembered, and I think what this is kind of illustrating is the importance to look at other funding sources, whether it's an HOA or contributions, or if grant funds are available. I know I've worked with Kevin, we've been trying to find a grant that might be eligible for this project, and we're kind of struggling as of yet to find something that fits, but we're willing to continue to look for those opportunities. Unfortunately, it just takes time when you have limited resources to fill those needs.
In terms of encumbered funds, again, theoretically, it could be more than $1 billion. You put out the bids. The bids come back, the low bid is, the bid you accept is $750,000. Does that $250 then get released back to us at the time of that bid? Or do we have to wait until the project is done to release those funds?
So I think it's a gray area. I think that is something that when we write our funding agreements, if we anticipate receiving a potentially lower bid, we could write that in. That any funds, if a lower bid is received, that becomes the budget amount, and any excess funds get returned immediately to the designated accounts.
That would make sense.
Gail?
Well, this has been a difficult one for me because I know the work that's been put into this whole process. But I have to keep going back to the fact that this is a neighborhood park. And although it's open to the public and anybody in the town can go use it, realistically, it's going to be used by the people in that neighborhood. So perhaps, we have needs and we have wants. This is a want. It's a beautiful, beautiful playground, well-equipped, but is it really, really necessary to have that scope of a playground in a neighborhood park? Yes, it's nice to have it, we would love it, but maybe it needs to be scaled back, and the committee here could see funding a more realistic, smaller version of that. And then if you wanted to enhance it, then that's the HOA comes in, or the grants, and, to embellish it. More swings, more spinners, more whatever. I just think it's a little bit too big for that area. Because it is going to set a precedent for every other park in the town. Because if you have it, everyone else is going to want it too. That's just human nature. If they got it, why can't I have it? So I would like to see a scaled down version come back that's in a more realistic, the $400,000, $500,000 scope. I think that's more doable.
Have you been to the new Grafton playground?
I know.
That's like what I want, like with a better basketball hoops, and that's it, and a fence.
Yeah.
Like, that is like, it's not like
It's not
elaborate,
that big. It's not.
and it's nice, like,
Right.
and
They
I've already,
spent, you
yeah.
looked that up, how much did they spend?
Which
Did
is
you
that?
say it was like
Grafton
$600?
one?
What's necessary and what's.
Yeah, and that's like what I envisioned, like, I had no part in Mariana's image, or ideal, like, that's why I was like, Kevin, like, I don't even know what these things are, like, I don't even know if I want this, like, and that's just me, the originator of this project, feeling excluded. So, like, I'm just letting you know that, like, if you've been to the Grafton one, like, that's what I envisioned.
Where is
Even the
Grafton?
trash
Yeah.
cans are expensive. It's like,
Yeah. Oh, in Grafton, if you go to the center of town, you take the left, and it's right down that road. I don't even know what it was.
You know the name of the park?
Oh,
I
think
noticed
I
it
took a
Norcross, Norcross?
I took a picture of it.
It's like on King Street, off of King Street,
When you say the center of town, down by the lake,
not that far. So if you go to if you're at your first intersection, you go by Pernalt's Garden, and you go up the street, and you go by the Police Historical Museum on your left, and you go all the way to top past Bushel and a Peck, and you're at
Yep.
the first stop. You take your first left, and you go kind of like underneath like some railroad sign, and it's right, I don't know, like half a mile on your right.
It's Washington.
But it's like a beautiful, cute, like little playground that I've already taken my family there a bunch of times, and like that's, I wish I knew what it was.
Off North Street?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so that is, yeah, that's North Cross. North
So,
Cross.
And they have nice signage too. on that.
and like,
Since that's on our
I
agenda.
thought that's,
When
the-
you
I
just
thought
have-
that's the
Where
one,
it says the signs.
Yeah.
I thought that's the one that you had mentioned, where you said CPA project.
Yes,
Is that
I wasn't
the
sure,
one?
yeah, so
That's
North
it,
Cross.
like, yeah, like that's
That's it.
what that, like nothing,
So North Cross project was $227,000 of CPA funds, 170 of town funds, so total of $400,000.
like that's,
Project.
that's what I
It's more
envisioned.
realistic, right?
But I don't know where Mariana got all, I don't know, I wasn't.
Well, because
so-
everybody likes all the bells and whistles
Yeah.
and make it.
It's because we're looking at a more inclusive environment and adaptive equipment. And we didn't pick out any
Yeah.
equipment specifically. I know you ask that all the time, and we haven't gotten to that point because we needed to get to this point first. And we're really looking at the playground being the same footprint that it is now, just with more stuff. And the access to get to it, and the access for everyone to be able to use it, not just, I've said this before, the standard says we have to get people to the equipment. We don't have to get them on it. Well, we strongly disagree with that. And I understand it's a neighborhood playground, but I also understand that it's town property and it's our playground. So I do understand that. And I know the money looks high, but, I mean, if you want to meet in the middle somewhere, I mean, I really have no choice but to meet you in the middle. But, you know, I'll do the best I can with that. But
I've also seen other playgrounds, like, I go to the Cape a lot, and it's a CPA funded playground that is in Yarmouth. And it says like a huge sign, it says CPA funded. And they have, what they do, they have poured like concrete like paths to like eliminate possibilities for the poured in place. And there's a lot of like weight, and I know that Grafton's it's a lot of mulch in some spots. So like, I don't know how they did it, honestly, what they did for ADA in Grafton. So like, I think there's still, I don't know what Shrewsbury needs to do for ADA and what their expectations are either. So it's a tricky part. Like, there's lots of ways around.
Are the concrete sidewalks in this budget, are they around, are they from the neighborhood together, or are they within?
there is, I believe there's one that goes right through the middle of the playground. It would go through the middle,
It's my
towards the
understanding that we
towards the
can
basketball court.
pay for pathways within a park or playground, but we cannot build sidewalks.
Right, it's not the edge of the
Okay,
road
that's
sidewalk,
good.
no. I thought I had a picture downloaded actually on there, but I don't
This
see
is
it.
500 feet of sidewalk, yesterday.
500 feet of sidewalk?
I want to know what a $3,000 trash receptacle looks like.
If
Does
you
it
go,
have
if you go to,
puppies?
if you go to Dean Park, you'll see.
Yeah.
Any commercial barrel that is, I mean, it's got the metal frame, it's got the plastic insert in it, you put the bag, I know it's ridiculous, I know it sounds like a lot
But
of money.
unfortunately, they have to be built incredibly
Yeah.
durable because
I
people,
think technically, aren't they supposed to be
the
bonded?
barrel we would have at the Gladden soccer fields would be abused. People try to put a couch in it, because, you bring your couch to leave soccer.
Since the marathon bonded, they build trash receptacles that are pretty much bonded. It's the $3,000. I saw it that night in Fletcher.
I flinched. What do we think, folks? What can we do? Jason?
Further question. So did I hear correctly, that the basketball court is now been removed from the estimate, is that? For the million?
Yeah, because the estimate on that was $1,100,000. So we took out the resurfacing, which all that was painting. It was painting and crack repair.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't
That's-
tearing up the basketball court.
Ah, okay.
I think what kids want is just a place to play. It's, you know, I don't know. Maybe because I'm old and I'm remembering, you know, playing stick can on the street and stuff.
Well, right now, currently, the cul-de-sac is the only alternative. So they're in our neighborhood.
Well, it says basketball resurfacing here, $8,000. So I assume,
Right, but it was $1,011,000, and I took 11,000 off of what I was asking to
oh,
make
so
up to cut
technically,
that
is
out.
this thing, you don't have it in this one then? Well, this one has it.
Yeah, well, it's not the total. It's not the total that I applied for. I mean, I didn't go in there and white stuff out on the,
All right.
on the sheet.
I mean,
So is there a number that this group feels like is reasonable?
I guess the question is, go back to last meeting, Jason, you mentioned something to the effect that not the entire project would be eligible in terms of certain things on the work site. I guess.
My comments were about that for $1 million, I have to imagine there's gotta be something in it that's not eligible. So it was more of like a,
General overview.
yeah. I think we heard that in terms of like, obviously, we know maintenance is not included, so that the repainting of the court is not eligible. But a $1 million price tag, what's, you mentioned 500 feet of, you saw 500 feet of sidewalk. So.
Is that one little piece, that curved piece, that would be 100, part of the, or is it the strip alongside the basketball court as well? Because I don't see much more than that. Well, there's sidewalk all
That's
around?
Yeah,
That
that's
strip
straight,
was
that's
the
straight
car.
shot and then it
The
goes
strip
down.
along the basketball.
Oh, so that is a car entrance at the back?
That's a grass field.
It's a grass field. Right now, there's a gate, but there's not even a fence there. But you could drive through it. That's not that would certainly not be the purpose of it. We're not adding a parking lot.
Okay.
Eliminate some of
Yeah,
the
but-
trees. You could eliminate.
So, and I know this is an estimate, and not necessarily the bid, will redefine the actual pieces, and obviously the amount that's approved, but one of the things like, if it wasn't concrete, would asphalt be less cost for 500 feet?
It could be. I'm not an expert on that, so I'm not gonna
Okay.
say, but it could be.
Yeah, so it feels to me like there are opportunities to have a lower cost from other bidders. Personally, so I think at the end of the day, we're trying to get to a number. And as I look to other communities, what projects they've done, again, I'm not an expert in this space either, right? But I look at the precedents of other communities and how much they've cost recently. I also think about how much money we have in our budget. I think about how many playgrounds are queuing up to get worked on. And I think about other priorities that our community wants as well, like community housing, right? Like historic preservation, right? That I think that my gut tells me that seeking no more than 500,000 for this particular project, for a neighborhood project. If we were talking about a large-scale operation, like a Dean Park, like a Lake Street Park, engineers maybe on that borderline of being a major site, but that will probably be a larger price tag in my mind.
In my mind, for a really worthy project, which this certainly is, and we wish that money wasn't an issue, and wiping out our, remember, it's open space and recreation. Wiping that out for one really important project, I can find a way to do that, but erasing our general reserves, that's for one project, that's where the sticking point is for me. because there are so many other priorities. This is for November town meeting. We anticipate there'll be more projects come May, and it's the same fiscal year. So trying to figure out how to best choose the money, because we want to build the playground. At the end of the day, we want to help you build the playground, but we also want to help the other worthy projects that come before us. So what does that number look like? And we have to get it past town meeting. We must be able to justify it and show, I mean, it's a great project to show our CPA dollars at work.
If we just did the site prep and the playground equipment and left out all the landscaping, the benches, the trees, all that, what do you think you could do? Hard to say.
Yeah, it's hard to say, yeah.
Okay.
I know the town would do better buying the equipment ourselves.
Mhm.
Off the state list, we would get a better deal than most likely a contractor would.
Mhm.
It's the site work that's a killer, and how much drainage we may have to put in.
Oh, yeah, I know.
I have a question. So I'm best friends with someone who does that, and he would do, I bet he would go down there and do a free estimate for us.
Yeah, we're not going that
And
route.
like, try and decide
Sorry. Sorry.
what it could be.
Yeah.
Would it be practical to kind of table this and then give you a $500,000 budget and then come back with a plan that shows $500,000 playground? So we, instead of just carte blanching, well, do what you can do for $500,000 and we'll accept it. I'm kind of uncomfortable even doing that without seeing what you get for $500,000.
I don't know what happens when the bid comes out, because there's so many playground companies that like work for the towns around us that I bet they would be different. Like, that's the only thing, because through all the ones that I went to, like, they're all very different. Like Compan and, I mean, O'Brien, and like, they're just, I feel like you would have to, or the town would have to decide who you want to go with. I mean, who you want to spend the money with. And that's a big thing, isn't it? So isn't it having to come afterwards?
I mean, if you look at the site prep work, that's about a $200,000 number in this estimate.
Just the rubber is 200,000.
Yeah, and so you got 437 total, the rubber's 200,000. And it might be one or two miscellaneous things you would leave out of the
Well, that's for
site
that
prep work.
playground. If it's a different playground, it may not come in at that price. I'm saying redesign the playground so it's not, Fifth Avenue.
Well, I haven't seen any designs of the playground. I mean, I don't know how big the playground is. It doesn't seem to be that big to start with, I guess. Am I missing something there? What's the square footage of 20 by 40, 20 by 60?
Sorry, of square footage of what?
The playground, the surface.
Oh. Can you go square footage?
It was on the.
I mean, on the Portland Place thing, it says 5,500 square feet. So that's like 50 by 100?
Just the swings alone, you need a 24 by 32 area just for the swings.
That's still 100 square feet.
And then you got the rest.
But look at the size of the structure.
But that's, you don't leave the basketball court out of it. All this prep
No,
work
there's
does
a
not include the
climbing
basketball
structure.
court.
Which is a shame.
It's a shame.
Does
We couldn't get the
the,
basketball court, because we have we have so many people that use it.
does the poured rubber include that entire triangle?
Yes.
Yeah, I guess I see it now, 5,000, get the arrow right there, 5,000 square feet. So that's like 50 by 100. So in effect, you'd want to reduce, could you reduce that some?
I think you can keep the size, you gotta reduce all the glitz, with all the trees, and maybe not such a big climbing structure, maybe one set of swings instead of, 15 different types of swings. You got the bucket swings and you got, I mean, it's beautiful. Every kid would love to have that, and it's, you know,
Bucket swing is almost required from an ADA standpoint. You gotta have the bucket swing,
Chris?
otherwise,
I think given the discussion, I think we've, you know, the 500,000 seems to be a comfort level with the committee that I think we can probably take a stab at value engineering this. Likewise, I don't think moving forward necessarily with a ballpark without having an actual redesign is necessarily prudent. You know, given that we don't know, you know, I don't want to put staff in a position that we're trying to, you know, design something to an unachievable number. So I think taking some time to see if this can be value engineered down to an acceptable amount, recognizing that the site work seems to be quite a significant chunk and around that 600,000 range. But with that understanding, we can look at a potential for value engineering and try to get close to that 500,000 number. I think it's going to be above that, but I think, you know, taking that time to evaluate how we can do that. And I think, again, during that time, we'll also continue to look at additional funding sources that might be able to contribute to this. We might be able to get a better ballpark number from the HOA, as well as residents in terms of contributions that we could expect from that, and work towards kind of both ends, getting additional money to contribute and reducing the overall cost.
you're talking about fencing this entire thing in once it's completed.
Mhm.
That makes sense.
That's gonna be a requirement everywhere, because too many kids run
Yeah.
nowadays, so everything's gonna
Well,
have to be
I was-
the
closed.
gates would have a lock, so how do you,
They're not, they're just latches.
okay.
But you
Well,
have
it
to have
says
that
with
gate to
lock,
close.
2 gates with lock.
Well, the only reason I was questioning it was usually a temporary work fence is put up, so I wasn't sure. It wasn't
So that's
clear
in
to
there.
me,
No,
this
that's
was
the
a
actual-
temporary
yeah.
work fence on the final.
That's an actual like 4-foot fence around.
I wish I had a definite answer and I could call for a motion, concrete motion, but it seems that we're all trying to find a way that we can help make the Arrowwood Playground Park a reality. But while continuing to be able to meet other priorities of the community with our limited CPA funding. But perhaps waiting to see, you know, I don't know if you can go out to bid with a number. Folks, tell me what I can do for $400,000, for $500,000, for $600,000. I mean, it is, we want you to have a nice playground.
Let me ask Chris this question then. In terms of the bid process, let's assume we approve, make up a number, $500,000. Then you put out a bid, and obviously the bid can say playground, square feet, blah, blah, blah. Leave it open-ended, see what the bids come in at. Or could you put out a bid to say not to exceed $500,000? I suppose you could go either way.
Yeah, you could do both. Typically what, and again, that's, you know, traditionally what is done in order to not put a dollar amount in the bid. If you put a not to exceed, that's the number pretty much all of the bids will come in at. So typically what we attempt to do, the strategy on that one, I don't think,
Oh, okay.
I don't think I'm illuminating too much here, but typically what we do is just this, where we'll, you know, if we did a value engineering and try to get that number of 500, 600,000, that becomes our price to beat. So you solicit that initial bid, that becomes your price to beat. You go out to bid and you see if anyone comes in under that amount.
Yeah.
Obviously, then you have that evaluation during that RFP to see is that lower amount still of a caliber,
So we-
quality of that original bid.
And if the low bid comes in at 600, then we have two choices, come back with the money, or we can ask the bidder to say, what can you give me for 500 grand, I suppose, right? Okay, that's-
Well, you're not supposed to bid without having the money to back it up. So you can't really play that. I mean, you can throw your bids away and start all over again. That's the legal way. But it's hard to play a guessing game with contractors, and once they bid on it once, then they feel like you're playing with them to get, well, we don't like your price, so we're throwing it out, and then we get other people to come in and bid again lower. So we have to be very careful on that bidding end of it. That's all I'm just throwing that as a warning.
But
that's
on
all.
the other hand, they're playing games with us, because the way they got the government to write the laws, they have an unfair advantage in a sense, because we have to tell them, we're willing to spend $1 million, so when they can do it for 600, they'll still bid 800, figuring if they can think they're gonna be the lowest bid, they'll bid it as high as they can.
If they think that.
They all do, you know, they guess and they know what each other does, so.
Melanie, did you have something to say?
I was just following up on something Jenna said about donations. Trees and benches and things like that are wonderful for memorial kind of things, where you get your tree put in and there's a little sign on it that says in loving memory of so-and-so who slept under many a tree, or something like that, you know? You get the idea. Tower Hill's full of those. And I'm sure it's very much to their credit that they're using that, their natural urge to commemorate a relative or a loved one or a pet or something by buying a feature for a park. And that just needs to be, have a little organization and maybe a little website or something, and a Friends of Arrowwood Park organization or something, which is not terribly, undoable. So that's something, if you do a bare bones looking kind of, just really bare, and then somebody starts bringing in the trees and the shrubs and the benches, that would add to it and, make it much more according to, what the vision was.
So let's figure out what we can do tonight. It seems that the general consensus is we'd like to try again with a lower number. Do we need to vote on that? Or can we simply just ask you to please see what you can do for around the numbers that we've discussed tonight?
For May.
Yeah.
Ask. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
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 Yes.
Would it be reasonable for us to have, to approve $500,000 to include design and construction?
So design and construction, I
Because
think,
I'm figuring that this would be a redesign, right, a redesign of the space.
right.
Does that
And it-
allow for?
How do you take
improvement,
that
or
to
is
town
that-
meeting, though? How do you explain that to town meeting without the plan? You can't just ask town meeting to accept a $500,000 project without some bones to it, right?
Yeah, I think we'd have to just do the design amount. It wouldn't be construction, but we could, between now and the October meeting, it does cut it pretty close with warrant and stuff. But, we can work to kind of try and tease some of that up. But we can get potentially a new quote for value engineering this design to a lower number, and see if we can get that for October. Making no promises as of now, so that's gonna be a lot of work to try and get that number, but then so the fall special town meeting would be just for a redesign, and then in May, we would be lined up for potentially coming back for that funding for that construction. If
Is
that's,
there any monies left over from the redesign that was already paid for or appropriated?
I'd have to go into the actual Munis account, I don't have that number for me right now.
I'm sure there is something left, but I don't believe it's 10,000. We started with 40. So I'd have to go back in invoices and find how much of it we spent so far.
So should we simply just table this until October? I think that's the most prudent thing. We don't lock you into anything. We can continue to consider it because we would like to help make that playground possible. Just we need a different scenario that we can go to town meeting with. All right, so I guess we should move on to the request from the First Congregational Church. Thank you for being here yet again. We do appreciate your time, and we'll figure something out somehow, somewhere.
I would really love to be a part of the design, like if you guys have meetings, because I would really like to be included in future, because.
That I have no control over. I have very little control, period. But the next.
Thank
I think come over.
So the next funding requests are, there were from the First Congregational Church, which we have approved, that's where they go, had deemed eligible. Alright, which one do we have first?
Yeah.
So this is the lighting project. Because I saw lighting, I was like, what? I believe that you were wonderful at last you joined us explaining this project for lightning, essentially lightning rods. They're all named the same thing in here. I like paper. I like paper.
Chair, can you go up to, where are you finding that? Because I'm finding an empty folder for FA2, 4A2.
So it was for a lightning, essentially lightning rod system for $21,000. We had deemed it eligible, that the opinion that it preserved the building. Is there, did you have,
No, that's what I'm asking about. Is trying to navigate to that. I
I'm
saw
trying to
empty
find
folder.
it too.
Versus that,
It's
There's two
4B2
things in
First
here that say
Congregational.
First Congregational, one is empty.
That's the tax exempt. What you're looking at right now is the tax
Right, but
exempt.
it's the full packet that was dropped off this morning. So we
Right.
have the full
But I don't find it in our drive.
4B2, yep.
Okay.
Yeah, because we've already voted for the eligibility, so that's,
Oh, it's the is it the unnamed PDF in here?
doc 090, yeah,
Okay.
that scan.
There we go.
oh,
Have you found it? It's the unnamed PDF. All right, in the interest of time, I think you were all here at the last meeting where Deb did a very thorough job explaining what this was and for take a minute and look if there are any specific questions that folks have about this. And this was a firm estimate of what it would cost.
It was a firm estimate, and Skip got the estimate.
It was dated in '23,
So-
June '23.
It may be slightly higher, but basically that was the estimate that we received then.
Okay.
They updated it this past June as being the same.
Okay.
Well, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And I think we're in a position where I have no idea what the timeline would be for these things. But should it go up between now and then, if we were to get a grant for that amount, we would pay
If it,
additional costs.
like if it went up like $1,000 or something like that, considering it didn't go up since 2023 till now.
Yeah.
It certainly won't go up a huge amount. It doesn't seem to me that it will go up a huge amount. So if there was like $400 or $500 or something like that, we would somehow secure the funds within our buildings and grounds, or if we had to reach out to the church community to find someone that, or the community at large, that might want to fund this, because if we did have a problem, as we've seen in other towns, I think it was Spencer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's when I got this bid, right after Spencer. Immediately.
You know, the whole building went, and it would be a loss, obviously, to the church community and all the people that use the building, like the Boy Scouts, AA, and, you know, various other voluntary organizations that use the building. It would be a big, big loss, but it would be a big hole in the center of town.
Sure. So you're not going for the all copper cistern, you're going for the, see at the bottom is.
Yes.
Yeah. Copper, I guess, when it's needed.
No, it's aluminum or copper.
Oh, okay.
They both meet
standard?
NFPA 780,
Okay.
but the copper is more, you know, resistant over time. And just in detail, it would involve a total of 24 lightning rods on our facility and 8 ground leads spaced throughout, you know, the perimeter of the facility.
Are there any other questions about this?
I think we're pretty much ready to go on this, aren't we? This particular one?
I guess the question I have is, the 21.9 is the aluminum versus the copper? And
The copper's an additional, so it's like 25,
is it have a
Prefer
longer
the
life
copper?
then?
yes,
By how much?
I don't know.
Yeah, but for the 25, you get, this is a, this
That's
is a.
my attitude.
This is
It's
a situation where the-
$3,150,
Yeah.
you know?
If it's
If
considered
it's
significant
20 versus
development.
22 years, maybe it's not worth it. If it's 20 versus 40 years, yeah, then that's worth it.
Yeah, I don't have those
I don't know.
answers. I'm not sure if anyone does. I certainly can try to get them, but
So we want to make a motion?
And
Oh, question. So does this, at what point would this go before
Town.
council, town council, to review its individual project?
do we need to have town council on every project?
I think they should for this.
Didn't we do something with?
We
regards to
have
the
an
church
opinion about, would
So-
the town council give us an opinion on whether we could consider requests from the First Congregational Church in regards to the building?
Okay.
And it was deemed that we could, for parts of the building that have to do with public space, not worship.
So, yeah, so we request an opinion from council in terms of this and the anti-aid amendment and funding these types of organizations. They recommended that we follow the 3-prong test that's included in the case law. I'd have to do a little bit of digging. I can try to find that if that's what we'd like to review at this time.
No, that's just we're overview of the community remembers it that way, that it's
Yeah,
we're
I don't have any problem.
okay, and then fine.
In my opinion, in particular, we talk about the First Congregational Church being an important part of Shrewsbury's history. This is preserving the building as a whole. So I would think that would pass the SIM test
Yeah.
easier than other things.
Yes.
Do we wish Chris to look that up, or do we have a?
No.
No,
Oh,
we
sure.
just,
Well,
we just want
we have,
Chris to be prepared to answer
15
that.
minutes here before we're thrown out of this room, so.
You have a great point about the value add here. And I didn't hear, I wasn't hear that, I didn't hear the answer correctly. Was it gonna be, it was all copper at 25,000, or was that in addition to the 21? So it's.
Oh, no, no,
We
it's-
don't have
It's
Total.
a total of 25 versus 22, you know, basically.
Yeah. Okay, so you need an extra 3,000.
It's 3,150.
Right.
We don't need
I'd be
it.
amenable to entertaining a motion for
It's an option.
25,000 to allow them to get the better system. If we feel this building is important enough to protect and preserve, for a little over $3,000. It's a big difference, probably about 3,000 versus $1 million. And I know we comfortably said, let's give them the extra $3,000 and have you do it right the first time.
I was opposed last time, so I'll make the motion, because now I see if this is acceptable to CPA, then I'm for it. So I make a motion that we approve 25,000 for the copper system as quoted.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor of $25,000 towards the First Congregational Church lighting suppression system, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Please by convote. Well, what's town meeting approves it? What's town
Thank you.
It's the first step in it, right?
Yes.
Thank you.
I know, really.
Yes, you would say that.
It's been quiet about Poplar. We don't want any fools climbing the building.
Thank you. It just
So
makes me
that-
feel more secure already.
I feel better too.
Wonderful. And then there was a second one?
There were 4 total.
Okay. Let's see what we can get through.
They're all in the same packet.
Which one are you bring up next, Chris? That's.
Having the one that was uploaded, did you scan the packet that you dropped off? Did you email that over to me as well? No?
No, I did not. I had a very difficult time. Anything that I wrote on these forms on your site, I couldn't save them, they just went away. The only thing I could do was print them. And I did it last night, because I didn't know I was coming to this meeting today. I thought, because we didn't have, from the Historical Society, we didn't have the information yet, I thought it was going to be, so last night I did this between 9:30 and like 1:30.
Yes, I will vouch for that.
Because I was communicating with this nice lady, because I couldn't figure out how to do it on the website, so I don't know if it was me or your
It's not.
website.
I tried doing one, and it's very
Oh, I'm
difficult
glad
to
it wasn't
navigate.
me, because sometimes I feel so,
All thumbs, I know.
I just don't feel that I'm up to the speed of my granddaughter.
Yeah.
So, but I sent them, I gave them to you.
Yeah, we uploaded the packet and it accidentally has the one in there
And so no other ones came up?
from the documents that were scanned that I know.
It's fortunate this one came up because personally, I think this is a good trial balloon for
Well,
the church applying.
I do have printed copies, but,
We can take those. Can we hand those out?
well, I only have one of each. And I gave you one. So I don't know, what do you want me to do? Do you have your copy still?
No, not me, no.
What's the
Well, what's
project?
the next,
Well,
what's the
the
next
next
one?
one is, let's see, the east side of the building, which is the side, and help me with this,
Yep.
by Boylston Street.
Yep,
We-
facing 140.
Right, we've done 2 sides of the building, and we've received grant money or funding for both the front and the back sides of the building. And one was through the town grant, the Center of Town grant that was out. They funded one side, and another was through another grant that I wrote. So we have 2 more sides to do. We want to replace the damaged wood with PVC materials. It's the window trim, the facade, and the gutter sanctuary. And I have pictures of that, if you want me to pass them around.
So this particular project, we're actually encountering water damage inside what we call the parlor of the church. It's usually the reception room for weddings, funerals. The ceiling is showing water leakage from the warped and rotted wood siding. And we did all the clapboards 10, 12 years ago,
And it's all.
and they're all composite.
Right, so it doesn't need to be stained and painted and those types of things. It's
But this-
all.
This is the trim around
Right,
the
it's-
windows.
Yes.
Facing the common. We included pictures, but,
Facing the common?
Maybe just pass that.
yeah,
on.
it's on a wing, yep.
Facing,
But you can see it from 140, for sure.
here's one picture. You pass it around.
But let me just make sure it's the right one.
Well, it's the one I was just talking about, this one?
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
this one, that's the best one.
Yeah,
This is the best one?
yeah.
Okay, I can't say as I,
When was that section of the building built?
Pardon?
The 50s.
The 50s, okay.
You mentioned sanctuary, so is that part of the church, or is it part of the building?
No, this is the parlor. It's not,
Okay.
it's
You
not
said
the sanctuary.
okay.
It's not
Yeah.
the
Oh,
sanctuary.
I thought you said sanctuary.
Yeah.
No, it's, but people gather there for, like before a wedding.
Yep,
People.
right off
gather there.
right off the church.
Yeah.
Yeah.
right that
And it's
area.
2 stories. Above it are a couple of
stages.
classrooms and a youth room.
Yeah, so it's on the first floor. And we call it the parlor because it has comfy chairs.
It's not where the stage is, though.
No,
No,
no.
Okay.
no.
It's right off the Great Hall, like, you
I don't
know.
think I've ever been in there.
Right, it's, right. And again, the siding would be replaced, the trim around the windows would be replaced for both stories. So it's the parlor downstairs, which is showing the water damage. And then there's 2 classrooms above it and a youth room above it. And those get used all the time.
If that was $6,000. I found the eligibility form, effectively. You were very thorough with that. so.
This one is less than that.
$5,101.
Yep. Yep.
And that's the gutter, facade, and the window trim. Correct?
Yeah, fascia.
They call it.
Fascia boards, there's damage up there, part of which is contributing to the water damage coming into the building. Rotted,
And that's on this picture.
wood rots, gutters droop, water backs up. When we did the clapboard replacements with the composite, we didn't have enough money to do all the window trims. And we're gonna have to start tackling that now.
And that was done quite a while ago.
Yeah, I think a dozen years ago, so,
Yeah.
the siding.
I remember my
That was
husband
huge.
was part of that. He got bids and he helped make, the church make the decision to do the boards that we're using versus just painting and, scraping it and painting it again and again and again. So this is more environmentally sound too.
So, questions, comments?
So then, first of all, we missed the eligibility, because we're talking about eligibility for this one, right?
We,
No, this is for funding.
Funding.
request for funding was submitted, we deemed them eligible back in July. A request for funding was submitted, but there were some issues in getting them into the drive for us.
Yeah.
This was the one that you had difficulty with eligibility for.
Right, and that's my same comments of,
Right.
I think this is, I believe that we're still in the scope of maintenance. So, I think you know what I'm about.
I know,
gonna say.
I know.
But I'm 1 of 9. I know what
Whatever
it
you
is.
see, front desk will run copies.
No.
I can leave this, or share this if anybody wants to see it, or I can read it. I apologize, I just had such a difficult time doing this. And I couldn't even send it to you via email.
We need to work on our end, making sure we're a little bit more user-friendly.
Yeah.
But we don't know until a user tries. So my apologies for the inconveniences and difficulties.
I guess, kind of to respond to your comment, and on one side, I agree, it's technically a maintenance issue. But I think it's the same conversation we had last time, because the church not having available funds. At some point, if the maintenance is let go, does it become a restoration project at some point? So whether it's at the restoration point or not, the $6,000, $5,000, do we put it through to say, let's do some preventative before the 5 becomes 20, and it's a restoration project. I guess, I don't know.
I mean, I
Yeah,
did
it's a lot.
select this area because I personally thought it was more restoration than maintenance, because of the damage and it was suffering and so forth. Um,
If this project were approved and restoration were made, do you have the funds and the means to sustain it, to do maintenance going forward, to ensure that restoration's not
We
made?
managed to do that up till now, for 300 years.
Yeah.
No,
You know, some of our work, obviously, we have to hire contractors because they go up pretty high for this. But a lot of our work is done by volunteers. It's just amazing. Because we don't have the funding, like to have someone come in and paint the walls in the inside or anything like that. So we need someone that has one of those big elevators, to go up to the top and stuff like that. We can't do that.
Has the water damage been repaired at this point?
No,
On
we
this-
haven't
this-
touched
Would
it.
this include the repair of the
No,
water damage?
but that's interior, we would do that ourselves.
So would it be done either before or during you doing this?
We'd probably
So-
do it after this was done.
After meeting another year or two, or?
No,
No,
once
See,
it's
I mean,
all-
no, once
That's
it's
kind of my
done.
question, you're gonna fix the water damage.
Yeah, because if we fix it before and it rains, then we're gonna have more problems.
Yeah, I mean, it's a slow, it's basically the plaster on the ceiling starting to peel in the area of the windows in the parlor.
Do you know if there's internal rot around
I-
the outside?
Oh, outside?
Yeah, like,
Oh, yeah, I mean, they would be removing all the wood
okay.
and replacing it with PVC. So it's almost that entire face is wood and not clapboards. There's like 4 windows, second story and floor. And
So the water damage hasn't,
it's not dripping.
it hasn't damaged the clapboard installation that you've already done?
There's
like
no
that
no
has-
indication of that,
Okay.
no.
This,
Yeah.
Ultimately, we already deemed this project eligible, so the decision tonight is whether or not the $5,101 are a good use of CPA funding. We did deem it eligible last time, and not all of our votes have to be unanimous as well. Jason?
Right, so there's one other factor to consider here. I believe this is a restoration or rehabilitation request, right?
Yes.
Okay. So when you do that, as defined, right, it's to make capital improvements or extraordinary repairs to make assets functional for intended use, including improvements to comply with federal, state, local, blah, blah. But it has to also adhere to rehabilitation of historic properties, which this is a historic property. So that's a caveat about doing this work. It has to fall in line with the historic property, right? Using the additional requirements there to ensure that it's that it's done to historic exactness, not just that, oh, okay, go to Home Depot and just get whatever trim you feel
Oh,
like
yeah,
putting in
yeah,
there,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, I mean, we've already applied to HDC, and this will be voted on at their the meeting on the 19th. And I don't anticipate any issues there. 'Cause it's-
Perhaps though, any vote we take, if it's in the affirmative, it'd be conditional based on the determination of the HDC of the appropriateness of the repair.
Same with the lightning rods, we've applied for that.
Did you say this section was built in the 1950s?
That particular section was, yes.
So is that considered historic?
No, I think the whole building
The
is.
whole building?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Further? Right. So HDC is, I mean, yes, as another committee, but CPA, like, CPA funding is not going to defer to HDC saying yes or no. It's about CPA legislation defining what is allowable with CPA funds. So I'm going to be just verbatim from the Historic Preservation section of the Community Preservation Coalition's website. It says CPA funds may be spent on the acquisition, preservation, rehabilitation, and restoration of historic resources. Communities using CPA funds on historic resources must adhere to United States Secretary of Interior standards for the treatment of historic properties. So it's not HDC just saying, yeah, go forward. It's adhering to this, again, US Secretary of Interior standards for treatment of historic properties and whatever it comes with. So the contractor who's above this has to be aware of this and adhere to this in order to appropriately spend CPA monies.
Can you repeat that again?
Can you send it to us?
US Secretary of the Interior's standards for the treatment of historic properties.
I think the HDC could guide you through that as well, particularly Chris Gustafson.
I hope so, yeah.
She's very familiar with all that.
For
so-
treatment of,
Historic properties.
and I'll see if the vendor is familiar with it as well.
Should we make a motion? Or we?
Are there any other questions or discussion around it?
I think just pay administratively, we can just get this application in the drive to backfill it and understand the prices.
And we could make any, if we were to vote in the affirmative, any agreement would be, we'll make certain that a letter would say that it must be done in accordance with the Secretary of Interior standards. We'll make sure that that was in writing for everyone. Oh, is there a motion?
I so move.
No, make a motion.
All in favor?
So you have to make a motion whether to recommend. So there was no motion to recommend. You just asked if there was a motion.
Oh,
So
She said so.
I move that we recommend funding for the amount of $5,101. The work on the east side of the First Congregational Church as was described in their application.
Point of order.
Yes.
So we previously gotten guidance from Mr. Mizikar about rounding up dollar amounts, so we're not getting exactly to a dollar.
Oh, okay.
So that's,
5,100, how about that?
1,100 or 5,000?
5,200.
okay, $5,500. $6,000. Sold.
5,200 would be appropriate.
Thank you, Ms.
What was the
5,200
number?
is the revised.
Well, I wrote, somebody said $5,101, and that's what I wrote down. So what was it actually on the form?
That was the quote,
Okay, so-
5,100.
Will you accept 5,100? And I have a handful of pennies.
5,200 is, Mr. Goldrich is
Oh,
advising.
5,200 is
Yes.
what you want? Oh, rounding up? Okay,
Yes.
that's a considerable round up, okay.
Call it contingency.
$99 on the wall.
Won't tell the vendor.
One of those
All right, all right. Do I have to say that again?
Yes.
Yes, you do.
I move that we vote to approve the east side work on the First Congregational Church building as described in their application in the amount of $5,200.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those opposed, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
The measure passes. Oh, any abstentions? Measure passes.
It's a recommendation, yeah. So there was a recommendation.
Oh, yes, and
Yes,
if
not
you-
approval.
that's in there, I'll put it in the
No, it's
minutes.
clear that we cannot approve, so it's recommendation.
All right, so
Okay, next one.
looking at what else there was an architect study.
Yes, but there was also, well, yes, we can do each other one. There was an architectural study. The 300-year-old building has structural problems, as we're talking about, but we have problems on the wooden floor below, on the below ground level of the building. So what I might call a basement, but it's the Building and Grounds Committee, supported by the church community, would like to have a consultant, an architect, to do a study to find options for repair of this before we have more problems. And this is the area downstairs where the Boy Scouts meet, and we have robotics teams meeting down there. I don't think AA meets down there. I think they meet upstairs.
No, they meet there.
They meet
One
downstairs.
of the three AA groups does meet there, yeah.
Yeah,
Is
so,
this an original floor?
This is a section that was built in the 1800s, and yes, it's original.
yeah.
And the means of construction at that time were to lay down a bed of asphalt-covered stone and then lay structural timbers on the stone and build the floor on that. And it's sagging and warping and so forth.
So you are asking for an architectural study of how to repair that?
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And their study would include how to repair it and estimated costs, and that's another bridge that we cross when that date comes, but
And that cost was 10,000.
just under 10, yeah.
Under 10.
And that quote just came in, like
Like
today.
today.
Like an hour ago, 2 hours ago.
So what's the 20,000, is this something different?
That's something different.
Oh, okay.
So 9,750.
No, that's insurance, yeah. This is the quote right here.
They're able to look at that.
I have a question for Chris. Chris, when this being a private building, there's no way of putting it out, things out for bid with these types of situations, right? Because it's not a town.
They're not subject to the procurement.
Okay.
Town entities are.
Okay, so we're talking $10,000?
Are there questions, comments about this particular request? This was deemed eligible in July as well.
Are you ready to vote on this? I know we're all gonna go. Well, you know. We've got 38 minutes to go, so we've got to vote.
I'll make a motion that we approve the sum of $10,000 for the Congregational Church consultant for structural repairs. That sound good enough?
Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And the last one is the east side gable repair. And once again, we have rotted,
Not repair, replacement.
oh, replacement. Sorry, I wrote that wrong.
Semantic.
But I can repair.
I must have done that one at
Strike that from the
12:30.
record.
I must have done that at 12:30. Includes, I'm so glad he's here because he understands these things in a way that I don't understand.
I'm the brick and mortar guy.
Yeah.
Our staff would have one of those.
Yeah, so, so the replacement of the rotted wood and vertical board on the east wall, and that's the one that you see by Boylston Street. So, and it would be identical to what was done on the north and the south side.
No, just the north.
Just the north?
Yeah.
Okay,
The south is, all we did there was paint. On the north side facing the cemetery, we had
oh, that's right.
the vertical boards, which were not replaced when clapboards were done.
That's right.
So they're still wooden boards and they're warping and so forth. And this would be identical to because it's actually the same size as the north-facing gable. And the price was actually exactly the same too.
And I think, I may be wrong, but I think I have pictures.
I don't know, I don't think that one has pictures because it was so similar. No, that's not it.
Oh, jeez.
No.
And what is the amount on this?
Let me look. 18,463. So I suppose, according to our last discussion, maybe we could do 18.5.
18.5 sounds good. And you're following the instructions of the Secretary of the Interior?
We'll have to double check on
Yes,
that
yeah.
because what we did before was, there's a window up there that is decorative. It opens up into an unoccupied attic. And we eliminated that on the north side. There's, again, it's 1950s construction. So I'd have to double check that window aspect of it. But,
Did you save the window? Did you save the window? Oh,
no, I saw it get smashed. But 1956, I don't think it had any great historic, and it certainly served no function, and it was high maintenance, being wood and trim and hard to get at.
Okay, does anybody want to debate about this?
There.
Yes.
Okay.
So, we talking the same topic here about basically where trim, wood rot, exterior, neat painting, or basically PVC.
I don't think, if we had this in our budget, we would not paint it. We would do the same thing we did on the north side and replace it.
So it's the Everlast board and something called batten?
Yeah, it's vertical board and batten, it's, simulated with a composite material. But it's clearly replacement.
I kind of think this one borders on maintenance more than the other, only because there's no structural,
No.
structural integrity of the building is still there, it's just cosmetic.
Siding.
Yeah, siding,
Siding,
so I'm not sure it's, it would be a stretch for me to recommend this one.
This does feel more, it's not about the structural integrity of a historic building.
Where the water damage on the windows and stuff, that's different.
That was preserving
Right.
the historic building.
So drill some holes so the water goes through.
No.
So,
It's like the longhorn beetle, right?
are there any other thoughts or questions?
The library is soon closing. bring any items you may have to double check.
That's some more time.
Come on, we've still got 22 minutes.
Visiting hours, right?
Their thoughts are, I mean, I want to make sure we give this all the consideration that it deserves, regardless of if we have to adjourn.
Well, it does
Or we're done.
preserve and enhance a historical building.
But it could be painted. It could be painted
Yeah,
to preserve it.
Yeah,
It doesn't have to
we
be
would not
changed
do
to
that.
avoid them.
No.
Okay, so it sounds
it
like
would be
this is,
wasting money.
this is the
I
least
know,
of
but
your
it's still,
concerns, right?
CPA-wise, it's kind of,
Of all of them.
Oh, well,
It's a matter of opinion.
No.
In my opinion, I agree.
but
About seeing it, it's hard to say.
we could all walk over.
After they throw us out.
Yeah.
We have suggested 3 times already. But what are we thinking about this one? Is there a sentiment that this one doesn't feel the same level of restoration that we felt that the others did? We're leaning against this one today, since we're only partway through our fiscal year. We don't want to use up all of our historic preservation funds. If we say no, it doesn't mean you can't come back later. So is there a motion one way or the other?
gee, like the phrases, right? I make a motion that we do not recommend
The east side
the
gable
east
replacement.
side
Gable is the key word, yeah.
Gable.
It's a triangular area.
the east side gable of the
vertical board.
Congregational Church application.
So the motion is to say no to the gable replacement repair project. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor of saying no to the gable repair replacement project?
Aye.
Those opposed to saying no? This one does not pass. But we will, the other projects will go forward to town meeting, and ultimately, the funding will be contingent upon town meeting approval at a special town meeting at some point in November. We don't know the date of it yet.
Now, would you suggest that well, I'm a town meeting member, so I would be there, but would you suggest we be there to answer questions? Because that
Yes.
last,
It can't hurt.
Yep.
yeah.
Is there anything we need to do between now and then?
Yeah, we'll coordinate offline.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so we can just go back and forth as far as, because 2 of these contractors we have history with. And I would like to stay with them if possible. The lightning arrestor is obviously something they've never done before. So, yeah, there's a lot of questions, but we can hammer that out.
So let's see if we can speed at least the next item on our agenda. We may not get all the discussion we hope to have tonight, but we need to recommend the draft warrant articles. In this case, for the Mountain View Cemetery gravestone restoration, which we approved earlier. And for the Arrowwood Playground is on here, but because we do not yet approve, recommend funding for it, we will not include that, but we will, however, include the 3 articles from the First Congregational Church, which we did approve tonight. Do you have our sample warrant that is foolproof, that there will be no mix-ups? We have it all right?
Yeah, so I mean, the warrant article language is fairly standard. I did have up this evening, I did have the draft with, it was just kind of fill in the blank, what we would do, as I'm doing right now with the vote of the committee this evening, just filling in what the remaining information would be for each of those articles. But the kind of mix-up of last time is we specified an account that shouldn't be done in the article, that's done in the specific motion that town meeting will vote on. That gives us the flexibility if we need to pull from that general budget reserve or otherwise, so.
Okay.
Can everyone see that, or do you want to hear my voice more? It was
Please use
in
another one, please.
the same language,
Sorry?
Chris was
Is the First County Road Church considered incorporation?
Corporation?
Incorporation.
No.
Do not
What's the
incorporate.
full legal?
I don't believe so. I've never seen it referred that way.
So the included Department of Revenue document here references as for just First County Regional Church as a tax exempt 503C organization. The form that was submitted was an expired one. Figured you would have a newer version to submit as well.
I think I gave 2 pages, and the second page says expiration date January 3rd, 2029.
So, that's another one.
The first
Scroll
one,
down.
Okay.
yeah, the
Next
first one
page.
says
Gotcha.
10/4/19.
Oh, as a
and it was-
renewal. Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
So we are
Got
a
it.
nonprofit. And we actually have our
to
attorney.
approve these, this will go to the select board, be placed on the warrant for the special town meeting at a date to be named later. I've heard from the grapevine it will be November, not October, but I don't know anything more than that.
Yeah, didn't they say November 18th?
Pardon me?
I heard November 18th.
And that's what I also.
Read November 18th.
That must be new,
It's
because I was just,
highly possible I missed it.
Breaking news.
I've actually tried to be unplugged for a few days since the weirdest thing.
Was that Tuesday usually?
Harder than it should be.
November 18th isn't it?
While Chris is filling those in, is there any discussion about these warrant articles, or we could hurry up and make a motion to accept these warrant articles as they are being filled in with the information we voted on today?
The one question I have, Chris, it says, all it says is to see if the town will vote to appropriate a sum of money in the amount of. Do we need to say from the preservation?
No.
No, so that's
That's
why
what was in trouble last
specifically we
time.
don't want to specify the account because,
It's
or,
not the accountant, but this town is appropriating money from the general budget?
no, so I guess we could say from the CPA
That's, yeah, that's all I'm saying.
accounts.
Yeah, from the
Plural.
CP, I wouldn't even say
Funds.
accountant, just from the CPA.
Okay.
but not specific account. Yes, we don't want to get into that again.
Sorry, just going to my
I mean, you can put it in
language. So the town will
yeah,
vote to appropriate a sum of money in the amount of blah, blah, blah.
from
The-
the CPA.
For Community Preservation Commission.
Community Preservation Funds.
Yeah, it's the act.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's, yeah.
Is there a motion to approve this language once Chris has completed filling in with the information of the 4 recommendations that we've agreed to make? 3 for you, 1 for somebody else.
Oh, okay. Does that have to be
okay.
done?
Very
Do we need to
good.
have that done today, or can we do
It
it
will,
next?
to ensure that it gets there in time, we need to recommend the warrant article language today.
Okay, so,
The other things on our agenda can wait, but this is time sensitive. So is there a motion to that effect?
I move that we approve the draft warrant articles as Chris McGolver has prepared.
The full one, there's 4 warrant articles, right?
Correct, it's the historic gravestones and then the 3 projects that were discussed this evening.
We approved funding for the historic gravestones back in June, July?
Of course.
I second the motion.
So that ink is, like, so we all move ink?
Yeah, and these are just recommendations to the select board if we need to make adjustments.
Library is soon closing. If you have any items to
Interchange,
check out.
we'll make sure that we reference that correct
correct.
entity, whatever that name is.
You are using a group
I
study room?
don't think we're an
Please go to the
INC.
reference desk at this time.
The motion
The
has been
children's
made
room is
and
closed for
seconded.
checkout.
All those in favor of the warrant article as he's completing them as directed, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? So we approve the warrant article language. We'll still sit here and if we couldn't get it right. I would say in light of the fact that there are 10 minutes until our wonderful library staff would like to lock the door behind us, we can quickly try to get through our discussion items. And you can quickly give us a working group update.
I will do my best.
Postpone.
But
It's postponed to,
that's pretty
So,
good.
yes, I do have an updated. So the CPC AHD joint working group, so we do have that
Thank you.
draft funding agreement that has been developed. I did resend that off to Steve Meadows, town council, for his review. I know he has a pretty heavy agenda, but we'll be postponing the meeting, but hopefully having comments back from him to finalize that document. So there should be likely something to both you and the Affordable Housing Trust in, short order at this point.
Thank you. I'm going to suggest there probably isn't adequate time for your online application
So
presentation.
So I don't have the full presentation, and I'm happy to take that at the next meeting. I did just want to briefly, I know we have 10 minutes, I'll go very quick. I just wanted to show what was put together. So Louise O'Neill, our assistant planner, put together the online application. This is actually ready to go live, and what we did is we were looking at a potential Jordan Pond shared use path application, which we're not submitting at this time, but we kind of use that as the guinea pig to run through and try to do some testing of it. This is the actual application side. This is the then approval side. But I just wanted to kind of go over very quickly, showing a lot of how this works. You have a lot of the detailed information that gets collected and is displayed, and the applicant can see this view as well. But I think one of the most important pieces here is actually this, where you have the project details. You can go to attachments, which is actually a running log. If you do new versions, you can see the old version, the new version of the document. And so you're able to upload documents directly to the portal in real time. It does an activity feed, so you can see specifically what's being changed at all times. It gives some of the information of the applicants and the locations. We also have a workflow step, so you can see you have the application review for completeness, and then it goes to committee member review, currently on hold because it hasn't gone to the committee yet. And then it'll actually generate an eligibility letter for us using the information that's been input. So it's a kind of interesting way of kind of streamlining the process and making it a little bit more accessible. It does do a lot with communication, because anything that's emailed and commented in here goes directly to our email and assigns it to a staff member. And anything we put in the comment box emails the applicant directly. So we use this for building permits, and it's actually a very fluid system. It works really well. So.
Fluid permits.
so is this something we can expect to see about Jordan Pond?
So we're actually revising. It was a very large dollar amount. The trail comes in at approximately $2.5 million. So we're looking at grant opportunities that would work towards that. The grants that we were looking at typically cap out at $500,000. So we're going to see if we can do pieces of that project and kind of chunk it out, or however we can work to make that work. But the grants that we have, other than mashing a bunch of grants together, which gets cumbersome in its own right, isn't really feasible.
Is there any public input on this? Because the Trails Committee would like to know more about it.
Yeah, we did some initial design public input, and we will have, once that design is finalized, we go to permitting, potentially through the winter, just getting that done. But we will have not just permitting public engagement, but likely another community forum, engaging directly the residents that would be nearby, abutting this trail. So we'll be happy to put that information out pretty broadly and generate some interest, but.
Okay, yeah, I specifically would like to hear the Trails Committee being involved in this, because, it's a trail.
Yeah, and so for information today, we do have that on our, the planning department webpage. You will probably tired of hearing me say to go there, but there's a lot of information there, so.
So I don't think there's really time to go in depth with any of the other items. I would like to say on here, we did have about the CPC signage, proposed posting locations. If we've got signs, let's just go put them where stuff's happening. I don't know that we need a big discussion or a vote. Just get some sign, and I'll be happy to do it. I've got a flashlight. You can do it in the middle of the night, I don't care. But if there's nothing else that can't wait till October, I think we should adjourn for the library staff.
I do just want to do the CP3 report if we can.
Can you do it in 3 minutes?
Just looking for an approval to submit the CP3 proposal as provided.
Perhaps that.
There wasn't anything in the one that I tried to.
That was the large Excel sheet that was really cumbersome. What it is, the CP3 report is looking at project name, description status. We input a lot of the information on the projects. So we have all of the projects uploaded. This is the actual CP3 page, which is a lot easier than the Excel sheet. Shows when it was put. I did not put any of the projects as completed as we're still closing out those accounts, other than the Mountain View Cemetery historic gravestones for the assessment that was done from initially phase 1. Since we're on phase 2, then all of those funds were expended as part of that project. So.
And the playground assessment.
The library will be closing in 5 minutes at 9
Sorry.
o'clock.
Wasn't the playground assessment
Will
completed?
reopen tomorrow at 9 a.m.
I can verify that, but for this time, for this round, I'd like to keep it as just until I can confirm that.
The police have arrived.
Sorry, everybody, but we are closing the building and an alarm will be turned on.
Is there
Am I supposed to care?
approved?
I want to be here telling them the alarm goes off.
I thought they were a little
This
wordy,
is
but
housekeeping
okay.
that needs to be done by, I believe it's due September 19th,
15.
15th. So it's due this week.
Yes, well, we better approve it then.
If it's got all the information of our projects and this is housekeeping that needs to be done, is there a motion to approve and instruct Chris to please submit this?
I move that we approve these descriptions for the, CP3, and instruct Chris to continue and post them on the coalition website.
Is that second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay.
Any abstentions? All right, how about a motion to adjourn?
So,
All right, a second?
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. We got through a lot, I appreciate it.